Regarding Coulomb's law, you see, the point is important and that's to be noted is whenever there are two charges, they apply the force on each other. Suppose they are having the force F between them, any two charges of whatsoever value they might have. If you introduce some third charge surrounding them, there is going to be no effect of this charge on the interaction between two charges already placed. This is one important law that goes with gravitation also and also that with the magnetic force. You see, the ratio of electrical force and gravitational force between two electrons is 10 to the power 43 and that between two protons comes out to be 10 to the power 36. Sometimes out of enthusiasm, students normally say that there's no other force between two protons other than nuclear force. That's a misconception. When inside the nucleus there are two protons, they are having mass, so obviously they are having gravitational force, they are having charge, obviously they must be having electrical force, and along with these two, they are having nuclear force. The only important thing to be considered here is that the nuclear force is the strongest one, and that's why all the forces will be dominated, and whatever is the nuclear forces nature that we experience. So, for example, two neutrons are there within the nucleus, they are experiencing nuclear attraction despite the fact that there is electrical repulsion, but that's a weak force and that will dominate it. Then it comes the vector form of this Coulomb's law. See, there are two charges Q1, Q2, two charges, and suppose they are having the position vector like this R1 and R2. You are already aware position vector means the vector starting from origin going to the charges separately. From Q1 to Q2, you might draw another vector. This will be said as R1, 2. This is vector from 1 to 2. And if you want to find the force on charge Q2 by Q1, you'll have to write F12. This will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1, Q2 upon this R12 whole cube, R12. This is the way of expressing the force. Means when you are interested in the force on Q2 by Q1, then you'll have to write whole thing in terms of F12, R12, and likewise for vice versa, I'll have to reverse the direction, it will become F21. You see, Coulomb's law is applicable only for the point charges, means very small charges. For extended charges, we need some other modifications also. One important thing as a theorem you might remember forever, that if you want to split a charge in two parts and you are also having the ambition of getting the maximum force, then in that case, you see, the the two charges or the two parts that you have split must be equal to each other. Like if you split 10 into 5 and 5, the product of the two is going to be maximum, that will be 25. For any other two parts like 1 and 9, the product will be 9. For 3 and 7, it's going to be 21. So, it's better to remember, if you want the maximum force in two parts of a charge, you have to split it into two equal parts. You see, one more thing you have to remember by heart, that normally in CGS system, this K, that's known as Coulomb's constant, has the value equal to 1. This is 1. So, in CGS system, the formula Coulomb's law is this much only. That's a time saving. If you prefer the derivations in CGS system, then you convert it finally into SI just by multiplying 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. That becomes time-wise economical for you.